it really is just like once you fail, it's just like it's over with. Like it's the anticipation of failing, at least for me personally, that affected me more than actually failing. Like once I actually failed, I felt relieved because I was like, yo, I got it over with.
Yeah.
Like I looked stupid and no one gave
Mm-hmm.
but it's that anticipation every single time that would like get me.
Yeah.
But in reality, like most people don't care too much, and you know, everyone's, at least if you're in good environments, like is supportive.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Highest Version Podcast. I'm your host, Randy Philivong, and on this podcast, we talk about falling in love with the process of getting better every day and becoming the highest version of ourselves. Today's guest is Kyle Ouk. He grew up in Lowell, Massachusetts as a Cambodian American, and I like to say he's kind of a Troy Bolton, if you think about it. He's passionate about sports, he's passionate about basketball, but instead of singing, he's into gaming. Another one of more passions of Kyle's is storytelling and art and the message that is being delivered through media, film, books, you name it. And it's kind of crazy the kind of bond that me and Kyle have grown to have because of one single move, and that is the Dougie. So let's welcome Kyle. What's up, man?
What's good?
How you feeling? How you doing?
I'm good. This is exciting. First time being a guest, so I'm like, let's run it.
I know. When I asked you to do it, like, yeah, I'm ready to yap. Let's do it.
That's all it is, man. You just gotta fill the space in the pods and get to know each other more.
For sure. So I do want to quickly just tell that quick story about how our bond grew through the Dougie. And that's because of one of our past guests, Charlie, who is a choreographer for one of our sets.
Yes.
He put us together for one certain section where you have to hit the Dougie, and then I don't know what this specific move is, but I think that's where we're like, yo, I fuck with this guy.
No, for sure. It was interesting, yeah, because hopping in, that was my first time like really dancing with you. Just in general too, like with the team.
Yeah.
So I had heard about you, and then I think you had shown up to a few things before me anyways.
Yeah.
So like when I hopped in, I mean, I was like, I'm with this guy for sure. But when we were getting down to that, I was like, hey, let's get it.
Because every time we try to, we're like, all right, guys, let's mark it. I never marked that one section. I was going, him the Dougie, have mad hard.
We going in, man. That shit was so fun.
And then ever since then, he was like, yo, he's like, yeah, if I cannot not go hard on this section.
Exactly. It was the most simple part too. It was like, yo, we just turned up for that 15 seconds.
Hilarious. All right, man. Well, thank you for coming on. I appreciate you. So before we get into everything, I want to feature the Funko Pop of the episode, and that is Jaylen Brown. For many reasons, if you guys don't know Jaylen Brown is a professional basketball player in the NBA for the Boston Celtics. And the reason why I picked him for you is because obviously you're a big Boston Celtic fan, but also Jaylen Brown himself, he's a very intellectual guy. He's very smart, and I feel like through our conversations about how you had this intellect about certain topics that we talk about, like storytelling, you're very smart in that sense, and I feel like you're well knowledgeable. So that's why I picked JB here.
Thank you, man. Look at that. Hey, JB, that's our Finals MVP, man.
I know, man.
He's underrated, man. Very, very underrated. I'm glad he got a lot of his flowers. But I mean, dude, the Celtics connection too. The Celtics connection and like sports that we can at least relate to.
Yeah.
I'm like that was such another thing, man. I was like, that's so fire.
And you brought me into your fantasy league and all that shit.
Yes,
No,
sir.
that's fun. All right, man, let's get into it. So,
Let's do it.
Growing up in Lowell, like kind of like maybe a brief history of like what was it like growing up in Lowell, being a Cambodian American, just like that kind of experiences.
So I would say the difference, or it felt different because I didn't like all of my younger years weren't in Lowell.
Okay.
So I spent some time in Gardner, which is very much like west of Massachusetts, and it was super white. Like, so that it was only like a 2 to 3 year stretch anyways, but it was still up until like 2nd, 3rd grade. So it was enough of my adolescence to kind of get like a feel of things anyways. But I would say that switch into Lowell made me feel like it was more normal, like being Asian and all that kind of stuff. Like those are also cues that I wouldn't know when I was a kid at that time anyways.
Yeah.
But shifting from a place like Gardner when I'm in like kindergarten, 1st, 2nd grade and stuff like that, and then moving into Lowell, I was like, damn, all these people look like me,
Yeah.
So that I feel like is very fortunate and more unique, I guess, for Asian Americans growing up and stuff like that. Because we were in a very heavily like Cambodian population of a city. So there was, lots of people there. And then I think Lowell is a very unique space where it's just like a big melting pot of a bunch of cultures and ethnicities.
Yeah.
So that stuff never really came at the forefront. It was like I've always, being in sports as well too. We've basketball, soccer, all that kind of stuff like has widened my range of friendships and stuff like that. So it was like, Spanish friends, black friends, white friends, stuff like that, because they all would be able to participate in those things, whether it was like a more street version of it or like we're literally in travel leagues and stuff like that. So yeah, like I think I'm like super, super fortunate to have grown in Lowell, and I like feel more appreciation for growing in Lowell as like each day passes. And I'm just like, damn, like people don't have experiences like that, or they do have a lot of identity crisis or issues growing up because they may not have been around people or places that felt very much like them or their own like culture.
No, for sure. For me, my experiences with ever since I went to UMass Amherst, like it was there was an Asian community there, and like I just felt more at home when I discovered that. Obviously it's like a little bit more time for me to get out of like childhood like thinking and behaviors, because growing up in predominantly white town, and I know I talk about this a lot and I hate that. I feel like I'm just making this my identity, but like it's just I mean
that's a big part for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And how I was reacting, like I can't tell like someone like, oh, like I'd be eating chicken feet, because people were like, why, like ew, you know what I mean? But I could go to like the Asian community and be like, I'll say it and be like, oh, it's normal, it's not like something that's
like we try and get some too.
No, exactly. I think what made your family, I guess, move from Gardner to Lowell, like what was that?
It was more just like money issues, and then I think that was also time of like just the economy being very bad. So it's like we ended up moving into our family's house at that time, very, very like cheap rent, and they like had lent a helping hand for our family because we had needed it at that time. But no, like all those things that you talk about too, I felt in like smaller spurts when I reflect back on it. Because I'm like I got the whole like Asian food smell thing too when I was like packing stuff for lunch, and I didn't recognize that until like later on. Because it wasn't that for my whole life. It was more just like those few years, and then once I came more into Lowell, it was like, and I did have those kinds of lunches or whatever like that. If that happened, I was like, it's not a big deal. Like no one really cared. So it's interesting to look back and be like, oh yeah, I can resonate a bit at least with experiences like that.
You'd be training for the chicken feet that someone brings to fucking lunch. No, I'm just kidding. No, even nobody be bringing that.
That'd be OD, bro.
That would be OD. Any struggles with, I guess, having in that transition? I mean, you were so young, so I mean, any identity crisis in there? I feel like you were so young that maybe you didn't really realize what was happening.
I would say that my parents did a very bad job at like letting me know like what was going on.
Oh, okay.
So they were very hush hush about struggles and even just like major decisions. So I didn't even understand the fact that we were moving away until we were literally at the house.
Wait, what?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like everything was kind of just going, and I didn't understand like, oh, we're gonna be like living here now until my mom was like, no, we're like, you got to get used to this, because I would say the Gardner house was very like fancy schmancy, like suburban white house, like that was low key like a dream spot, you know what I'm saying? So then moving into our cousin's house, I mean, we love that house and all of them in there, but obviously it was a just like downgrade, quote unquote. It just like aesthetically and like it's an older house and all that stuff. So I remember I was supposed to shower and the tub was not like, it just looked like it was dirty or stuff like that. And then that was when I knew that I was living there, because my mom was like, you got to get used to this because this is our shower or like our bath for the near future type of thing. So that it was crazy. They were super hush hush about it, and I didn't know that I was moving. And I think losing all the connections over there, even though we were young and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I would say like I spent a lot of time with them like during the summers and even during the school years and stuff like that we've never been able to reconnect, or like I don't even know their names and stuff like that because I was so young.
Yeah.
So I am a little it's not crazy, but envious because my brother was in like middle school, like 7th, 8th grade and stuff like that. So he was able to reconnect with those guys.
Gotcha.
And like, at that time they were probably already on like MySpace or something like that. So those things didn't lose itself. So I think that was like one major struggle I guess I had of shifting or of moving back to Lowell.
Yeah. So that struggle of money that you brought up, did that affect you at all as you were growing up, or were your parents really trying to hide that?
I mean, they did a very good job of hiding it for sure. But I think that me and my brother were both very accommodating in terms of like, we were not like whining or complaining about stuff that, we couldn't get, or, living situations and stuff like that. Like for me, I think the whole bathroom incident wasn't even like oh my God, we downgraded or whatever like that. I just, I'm like also a neat freak in that kind of way.
Fair. Fair.
So that it probably just like bugged me in that kind of way, or it did definitely bug me in that kind of way. So I think, I mean, money and all that stuff, I give a lot of appreciation for them for keeping it or making us feel like we weren't struggling during those time frames, even though obviously we were. And my mom and stuff would be very upfront about like, oh, like we can't really like get this right now. And we'd be like, it would suck sometimes, but we're like, we gotta accept it. So
that, does that have any kind of contribution to your drive now? Because you're a pretty well driven person. So I don't know if any of those experiences make you want to work so much harder than everyone else.
I mean, I think that has been just like a trait that existed within our family pretty strongly. And immigrant parents play a huge part in that as well, to like instill that. But I mean, everyone that I know that is like my family like that are workaholics in that kind of sense. And then once you get down even to the immediate family of like my brother, my mom, and my dad and stuff like that, they're probably on like another level of like just like being workaholics and stuff. But I will say that I probably didn't start off as driven, I guess, compared to the rest of them. But the more that I have like gone about my actions and like reflected on them, I know or I can feel confident that I am above maybe my peers and stuff like that. Like, like it comes off as a confidence, cocky type of thing, but like it's one of those things like even in sports where it's just like, you put in that work in your game. So it's like you can have that confidence to, talk your shit a little bit. So it's like, I'm not saying like I'm talking my shit with the way that I work or whatever like that, but I do reflect and I'm like, okay, maybe I am harder on myself than I should be because I am putting in, and I am more driven than I would have thought. Because I mean, my self competition is typically like my brother. And that guy, he's on another level, bro.
No, for sure.
So
you guys, his brother is Vatano, who was a past guest. So if you guys listen to his podcast, you understand like his mindset and all that stuff.
And I mean, even now, like he's chilled out a lot, but he is still a very well-driven guy. But definitely during like his younger teens to mid-20s and stuff like that, that passion and drive was like another level. So for me, that was my standard of what I should try to achieve. And I never would say that I hit that mark per se. But being like in the ballpark of that, I was like, damn, I'm actually like way above 99% of my peers.
No, it's crazy. Especially like people are like ask me like how are you balancing a corporate job along with like doing this? And I was like, I don't know, I'm just like driven and to make this into something that I really want to make an impact. This is my way of service to the world and society. What's crazy is that your brother actually mentioned, because somebody asked him like, what's the best advice that you've given to Kyle? And he's like, I don't know. He's like, but I feel like there's one thing that I did where it fucked him up. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, oh, it's because I've shown him this idea of like passion, and going for your passions has to be like, if you're not working to this amount of effort, that means you're not working towards your goals. And he was like, oh, like, I feel like I fucked him up in that way, because like now he doesn't know the balance between, like driving hard or driving towards your goals, and having that compassion for himself. So I guess now that you heard that, now what do you think about that?
I think that's facts, because they're and I mean it's fine to like acknowledge that, but I think in my younger years it was definitely more of a I felt like I was more in a rut, and like it's crazy to think that you're in a rut as like a 14-15-year-old or whatever like that. But I put so much weight on the fact that I needed to have something like worth driving for, or like doing stuff for, that I mean I would say I'm lucky that I ended up finding things that made sense and clicked in that way that my brother was trying to relay to me. But I could see a world where if that never happened, that it could just help, like it could have made me crumble under the fact that like I could just not be that, or like I couldn't achieve something similar to what he had. So I could from his perspective as like an older brother, trying to steer your younger brother in the right direction, stuff like that. And especially reflecting now, I could see where that may have been or it's like a dilemma now, where it could have, like I said, made me crumble. But we went the lucky route, and true. I'm chilling. And I mean, like, it was effective, I would say. So, gambling, or like it is a gamble.
No, for sure, for sure. But like, you guys are both so well driven. It's kind of crazy. It inspires me, to really keep going. That's why I like being around you, because I kind of feel that kind of inspiration and hard drive to like go after what you truly want to do. Something that I also did want to bring up is he mentioned that as you guys were growing up, you lost your biological father. I guess how did that feel? How did that become a turning point in your life?
It's very interesting, because it was relatively like prolonged. So my dad had become like weak/sick for maybe had like 2.5 years during that time frame. We never like expected things to go the route or like as drastic as it did, but we did recognize that he was getting weaker and all those things. So I wouldn't say it came like at a shock or anything, but it did shift my brain a little bit into maybe just working harder. In terms of like helping compensate for the like our lives and stuff like that, and not wanting to put stuff on my mom and all that. But honestly, like, as it sounds odd, but a lot of the things that I do remember are the very like positive things that came around that like situation as well. Feeling the like love and support from like everyone, family and friends, was, it was overwhelming.
No, for sure.
At times. But it was very, very nice, and those are kinds of like the memories that I hold on to more than the sadness in the situation.
How old were you when you lost him?
I was 17.
17, okay.
So he had been sick around like when I was 15, 16-ish, and then I had just turned 17 when he actually passed. So it was like 3 days after my birthday or whatever. So I had just turned 17 when he had passed.
Damn. And that like going into, finishing out school and all that stuff, I feel like that definitely probably was hard, right?
That year specifically was definitely very tough. Super in and out, and like, my teachers gave me a lot of grace, which was dope. And like, I was a good student already, so they didn't really like care how that year really went. But I think, that school year for sure, and then even the following year was kind of just like, let me like get going, because that was like that was also when I had been firm on the idea of where I was going to school. So yeah, that year specifically was just very overwhelming.
Yeah, no, for sure.
It was a lot.
Yeah. How has that shaped you to be the person you are today? I know you said you mentioned work, obviously working harder, but anything else?
Um, just having like more intention with the way that I move around with things. I do reflect on like certain times or just like moments with my dad that I could have handled better. And that just like super simple like sentimental stuff or whatever like that.
Yeah.
Whether that was, him asking to just like chill or like sleep, like, share a bed or whatever like that for a day that he just wanted to. And I was like, I didn't care too much to do that at the time. I give myself like some slack. Obviously, like I can go through like rabbit holes or whatever like that, but I'm like, yeah, I was like a teenager and I was like young.
It'd be like that,
Yeah.
When your parents want to do something with you, like, and you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
It's just the teenager mindset. You want to just live, do stuff on your own.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think that has, made me more intentional about the way that I do things and interact with people and try to not have like, nothing's unlimited.
Yeah.
Like everyone has limited time, and to just like show appreciation for the people now that you want to show appreciation towards.
For sure.
Rather than, waiting or even leaving things like sour. That is also something that I just like don't really like to do.
Yeah.
I don't really have like a lot of relationships that went sour or like are ambiguous or whatever like that. But I'm like, I would like to make that a key point for sure too, where it's just like, let's not keep this unsettled or whatever like that.
Yeah. Talk it through.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. You'd be surprised about how many people just, leave shit unhandled. I mean, I know someone came up to me and asked me about that too. Like, if there was a situation where things are not on a good note, like, how do you handle that? And I was like, well, the first thing is depending on that person, do I have a strong relationship with them, or are they just like borderline like acquaintance level? So if they're borderline acquaintance, I'm like, I don't want to use my time and energy to
Absolutely.
to even try remediate things if something bad happened. At that point, I'm just like, okay, like, obviously I know your stance. This is, leave it be civil and keep it moving forward. But if someone that's like, oh, like, I really appreciate and I really want to, making sure to keep that connection with them, is like talking through about, hey, like, this is how I made you feel. There's not a lot of people where we can say just true, honest feelings, whether it's something that will be hurtful,
Yeah.
Yes, it may be hurtful, it may hurt your feelings, but if it's some true shit, sometimes you have to listen to that. And I know Michael B. Jordan had a quote too about, what if that person needed that? They wouldn't know if you weren't honest with them.
Yeah.
So I hope people in my life are, honest with me and, saying the real shit about, what I'm doing, maybe certain behaviors. And it's tough to hear for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I do agree with the idea of like, protecting your peace to some extent. Because, I mean, not everyone is, at least on a personal level, to that connection of like, we're strong enough to make me want to go through these struggles or whatever like that, or like troubles of having this open dialogue. So it definitely is like a pick and choose thing. But yeah, for sure, the people that I feel those things towards would hate to like leave that unsettled or just like not trying to be upfront and have open dialogue about that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Some past guests have brought you up a lot.
Really?
A couple at least. And it's the one question, and they mentioned you because it's a question that you asked, and they said, when Kyle told me when I locked in, like, I was like, oh, I really had to think about that. So can you please elaborate on that question, like where that question comes from, and like, I guess is it lock in or log in?
Oh, the log in question.
The log in question. Yes. Sorry. I butchered that, but yeah. But that was a question a lot of people brought up, and like that's what they elaborated on. I was like, oh shit, Kyle asked this question a lot.
That's so funny. We've had that conversation a handful of times. But it's just a funny like thing that I came up with. But I feel like everyone has a moment where they like log into their body.
Okay.
And like that's when they like gain consciousness and stuff. And I remember, or I brought it up because I'm pretty sure I remember the moment that I had like literally logged in.
Cool. Wait. Please elaborate. So I'm interested in this. Yeah. So when did you log in?
I logged in. I don't know how old I was, but I was sleeping on the bed with my dad, and I was obviously a baby. When I talk about login, literally like gaining consciousness from like being aware of my surroundings and like I'm living, like I'm alive. So sleeping on the bed with my dad, and I literally just like stand up and I look around, and I think I see there's a song playing. Oh my god. I don't know the song title, but I know the lyrics.
Okay.
To the windows. Yeah.
You had Get Low?
Yes, sir. Get Low. So that shit was playing, right?
Yeah.
I just stood up and I looked around, bro. TV was playing. I remember the outline of the room and everything. And from there on is when I have like clarity in my memories and like making conscious decisions.
Yeah.
But the fact that people bring that up is hilarious.
Yo,
I
everyone
guess.
does, but yeah. It's a good thing. It's a good question to ask because it's like, oh, like, you know, when you're born, like you don't remember those memories, but then there's that one moment where you're like, oh, like, you know.
Yeah, because I mean, everyone has spaces of memories. Obviously, I have flashes of moments before that time frame. But when I feel like I was truly aware from that moment on, it was that.
The fact that Get Low played,
Get Low was playing, bro. I'm pretty sure it was on a TV, and it was probably some like MTV shit. Yeah,
yep.
And I was like, hey, that's my awakening song, I guess.
Bro. Yeah, you woke up to ski mode, I guess. Did you have you heard the acoustic version of that?
I don't think I have.
You gotta listen to it, bro. It'll make you
surely I have to now.
Yo, when you're because that song was playing in middle school dances, and we were just screaming that. But like we didn't know what it actually meant. And then when I started to listen to the acoustic version, I was like, damn, I was saying this at like 11-year-old, like 12-year-old. That's kind of bad.
I feel that. I mean, being with my brother, like he was playing all the songs, and I was like, hey, we were getting the verses, singing the songs, and everything. And I'm like, damn, I was like 5.
Bro, no, my god, your parents like, what are you teaching him? Oh shit, man. Now I'm trying to think of the time that I logged in. I think I have to think about this thoroughly, but I think one time in first grade, I was going to the bathroom. No, that wasn't. That's not a good way to start. I was in the bathroom, and there's like this like a big ass mirror.
Yep.
And I looked at myself. I was like, oh, so that's how I look. And I'm like, maybe that's when I did.
Low key, that's like a login moment. That's what I'm saying. Where it's like you gain consciousness.
Yeah.
That you're like you're there.
Yeah.
You're alive.
Yeah. My ass is like, oh damn, I'm Asian. Too funny. So man, I asked you about, you know, what are you passionate about? And you said storytelling and art. I'm kind of interested to hear, you know, what can we learn from storytelling and art and how we can approach life? I feel that may be a confusing question, so let me know if you want me to like reword it or what I'm trying to like, you know, get out of you.
Okay. I mean, if anything, you can ask again after I kind of say what I think. Go ahead. But yeah, storytelling and bringing those elements into life. In my opinion, I think storytelling, at least on an emotional level, like a lot of the reasons why I listed those specific mediums of art is because they, at least to me, encompass storytelling the best. And because of that, they're able to dive into emotional, psychological, like topics and moments, I guess, a bit better to me, or at least stronger. So when I think of just fiction, but like we'll use books as like a medium or something like that. Just fiction books and storytelling in that way. I think that is one of the strongest ways to learn and teach empathy to someone. Because, you know, whatever the story is about, typically you are following a character or said characters and whatever journey that they are going through and the struggles essentially that they have to overcome and the lessons that they learn through those things. Obviously, this is like a super basic like baseline of what a fictional story would be. But in a sense, I think that those kinds of moments resonate with people, or should resonate if it's done well. Should resonate with people a lot stronger to where it can reflect the way that they go about their lives. So I think that at the core is very much why I love the idea of storytelling and invoking emotions from people. And then if you want to talk about like more of a process type of thing, I think the way to create cohesive stories is very meticulous. And that could also be something that you can bring into, you know, day-to-day lives, where it's just like, you know, there is chaos in art and storytelling and stuff like that, but I think there is a heart to wanting to make something that matters to you. So yeah, I think it's kind of like enjoying the process of that, and using those principles, I guess, in your day-to-day lives.
Yeah. I mean, how would one like use what you just said and approach like their day-to-day life?
Okay. Whether it was, like I said, living the emotions and like, I guess, thematic, I'm like throwing out words, but I'm like,
No, it's all good.
I'm like thematic revelations, but I'm like, damn, now I'm just like, I feel like I'm just spitting words, bro. But basically like life lessons and the emotions that you can feel through a story, I think can be put in your day-to-day lives, in the way that, basically the way that you operate, how strongly you feel about a certain, like I said, life lesson or like theme that you go through, I feel is,
Yeah, no, for sure. No,
yeah.
I pick up what you're putting out. I feel there's a lot through those storytelling, we have a lot of stories and experiences that we can resonate with. Therefore, like, you know, maybe if we're struggling with something, we read like a certain novel, and like it teaches, like, obviously you follow the character, you know, like their full story, and then, you know, by the end of the book, you understand that lesson that they're trying to teach, and then maybe bringing that into your own life, no matter if it's fiction or nonfiction.
Oh yeah,
it's still
absolutely.
something that you can learn from and keep growing with. I think something that when you told me about like that you were passionate about storytelling, I feel like one book that in school that I really loved, it actually turned into a movie by Michael B. Jordan. He was in it. I'm not sure if he was part of like the writing of it. But Fahrenheit 451.
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with that book.
Yes.
And how, you know,
Love that.
books are being burned, and you know, there's so much technology around, and but there's an importance of books because of the storytelling that they're doing through reading and through words versus like a motion picture, right? And I feel like, you know, without books, like we wouldn't be able to learn these lessons that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Is there a certain book, movie that you feel like has had the greatest lesson to you? I feel like that's a lot to narrow down, but
No. I mean, I like expected something like this.
okay.
Because there's no way.
Yeah.
But I think the first one that comes to mind is probably Haikyuu, which is it's super crazy because it's like a slice of life anime that has to do with volleyball, and
okay.
yeah, I mean that none of those things would make me think or make a viewer think like, oh my god, it makes sense.
Yeah.
This is why he changed his life. But I think the themes in that story and the way that they approach life is very that's a story that is damn near 1-to-1 when we talk about like, oh, what can storytelling bring into day-to-day lives. I think that story itself, alongside being like a sports, you know, series, and, you know, us loving sports, that being dope, I think the writer throws in so many different perspectives and themes and ways of living for each unique person that there is something either that you can take away from every character that you love, or that one, like there is that one character that you resonate heavily with. And it's like, damn, like there's so many things that I want to approach my day-to-day similar to this said character, whatever, like that. But I think even at a basic level, it is just like about the process of you know, becoming better, putting your all into like a sport and trying to achieve, you know, the highest tier of that, and using basically volleyball as a vehicle to do your best, essentially.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like for each character. So if it's like, oh, I want to achieve like being a pro, or if it's like I don't really love volleyball like that, but I'm good at it. So it's like there's some times where the story shifts in a way where it's like that person that doesn't really love it still finds their way upon the thing that they do love. But volleyball is the central piece that connects all these people together. Or all these characters together at that time.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I think that one is at the forefront of like, oh my God, this like has the deepest impact.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, guys, if you guys haven't read it, there you got one recommendation right there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure. Hey, if you any Rex, I got you
for sure.
But I would say, yeah, that is something that everyone I think should at least try to watch or read.
Okay.
Because there is, the manga version, if people like that better. But I think right now it's easier for people to just watch things.
Gotcha.
So the show is very good as well. So.
Okay. What are the top 3 mediums that you kind of, I guess, take in storytelling from? So you said books.
Yep.
So
yeah, books, I put that alongside like manga. Okay. Because I do read a lot of manga, and so yeah, I would say books and manga together, and then
and then movies.
Yep.
And then what's the third one?
Music.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Start, bench, cut. Of those 3.
Okay.
In terms of like the best way to storytell. So what are you starting, bench, or cut for?
Best
books,
ways to storytell.
Film, and music.
Okay, so best ways to storytell.
Yes.
That's the key. Okay. I would say books first.
Okay, so you're starting bench.
Oh,
I mean, sorry, you're starting books.
I'm starting books. I'm starting
books. Yep.
I think. Oh my God, this is crazy. This is crazy. I think film, and like I throw like TV as well too there. Where it's just like, anything like filmed in that direction. I think that will be bench. I think I'm gonna cut music, and that hurts my soul.
I know. I bet it does.
Because on my personal list, it looks different.
Okay, what's on your personal? What's your personal list?
Personal list, books is still starting.
Okay.
For sure, but I think I'm benching music.
Okay.
And I'm cutting film.
Okay.
I love film, and literally, I'm like I do videography and stuff that. But I think music is such a key part of my life in general, anyways. And I have felt and resonated with more things having to do with like albums that people put out, because I feel like that's such like an artistic thing, like medium, obviously, and there's so much depth that can go into music, whether that's like production or the actual lyrics, and then the way it's sequenced, all that kind of stuff. I think there's just a lot of like minute details within albums or in music as well that I love. Yeah. While like, yes, there is that for film, and you can show so much through that visual media. I think that I just have a bias towards music in general. But hey, all 3. Yeah. That's like, oh my God, that's impossible, bro.
So moving on to a different topic here. When I asked you about your struggles, you mentioned not being used to failure and being too comfortable of a supporting role. So my first question to you is, how were you reacting to failure then, versus now?
Okay, so failure specifically, I would just be more avoidant.
Okay.
I think that growing up, I've never been very like bad at things. I've always been able to just like pick up and be at a better than average like bar, and that like was the norm for me. And that mainly stems from like sports, and just like bodily movement and stuff like that. Now even like with dance, like I've always felt relatively comfortable dancing, and I mean, these guys have been wanting me to dance since I was like 12. So it's like they would want to like grow me type of thing. But obviously there were other factors that didn't play into that.
Right.
But it was just because of things like, oh, like he looks good already. Like we can mold this guy into being a beast type of thing. Like I assume that's their thought process. So
Also, he talks about like intermission, like the little dance community. That's what
intermission.
When he refers to it as
SFC.
they, like that's what he means.
Yeah, intermission, SFC, all that. So, yeah, that had always been the norm. Same thing with sports. Picked those up very fast, and I was like never really like benched or cut or anything like that. You know, always starting and just like playing well.
Yeah.
So I think whenever I would reach certain caps, less with sports, but more with like other just like stuff. Say it was like, I guess you can count it as a sport, but say like flipping or whatever like that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I'm confident in my body, like movement and stuff like that, but to literally flip, like you're going to fail. Like you're not going to hit backflips, back handsprings and stuff like that off rip. Like that is something that you have to consistently fail at. So I think when I was doing gymnastics, floor was one of the bigger struggles for me because you quite literally have to fail over and over and over
to get it,
to get like a feel for what is going wrong and stuff like that. While like basketball, soccer and stuff like that, you can get away with just like being more athletic than someone else and just having hand-eye coordination and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I didn't do floor when I was doing gymnastics.
Yeah.
I did all the things that were just like
you were good at.
Yeah, that I was like, it was more physical. So it was like rings, pommel horse, and like the parallel bars and stuff like that. Like none of that was really too uncomfortable for me, and I think that was something that I was aware of, but I didn't want to acknowledge when I was like growing up, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure, man. It's just like when you're young at that age, you don't understand. You gotta do the hard shit to get what you want, and that's how. Every time I think about like high school ball, I was like, I wish I told myself to do the hard shit because that's what's gonna make us better. So like our senior year, we convinced our coach to not do like a certain conditioning drill. Yeah. Because we're like, I hate running. Like let's just like scrimmage or something to like make it better. But it's not. That's not really gonna help you as much as it's like different like workout exercises, right? So like if you do like a bench press with a barbell versus like a dumbbell, like there is a difference. One is going to be better for you than the is a better workout to grow muscle or whatever you want to do. And man, I just look back like we got the whole team to like, you know, talk them out of it, but I wish we did it because we were just tired at ending game all the time, and that's how like we just ended up losing games. Like we hit the third quarter, like we're on a high, like we're getting momentum, but come fourth quarter, like dude, it's just like collapses. I know, because we're all just so fucking tired.
Yeah. No, like, I mean, ironically, that's funny because I remember one of my soccer coaches, he was like, not gonna focus on fundamentals or like not fundamentals, but not gonna focus too much on schematics or like, you know, optimizing the play of everyone else. What he was going to focus on was the cardio of it, because he knew that he could get us to a level already that was good enough for our competition, but we would win because we would never lose the pacing of the game. Like we would always control that pace. So it's like ironic when I'm like, we hated cardio too.
No, nobody likes cardio growing up, but it's just the hard shit you have to do. It's so
important, man. I like low key miss that stuff. And I think another additional like thought for this overall was that it's not that I didn't like adversity. I love adversity. And like I always wanted challenges, and that still reigns true. I take a lot of pride in the fact that I will get something through adversity. And like even gymnastics, I would say that was the most recognizable adversity, because obviously like we didn't grow up doing gymnastics. Like all the high school guys, like we were just like, this is more common for like the little guys apparently to just do gymnastics. And a lot of b-boys were doing it too, so that like helped us get into it too. But for a little bit I wasn't starting there. But I would say like after 2 to 3 meets, I like locked in and I was like, nah, I'm not, because my other freshman, because our year was like kind of crazy. Our freshman class or whatever, we had like 3 or 4 people starting, and that was like unprecedented to be already in there, and we're all new. Like none of us had gymnastics backgrounds. So I was like, these guys are not going to be the only ones starting. I'm starting. Or like I'm going to be in one of the events and stuff. So I locked in and I got in. So it's like I do love adversity, but I think there is there was a difference to me where it was like pure failure and like looking stupid, because no one expected me to fail. So it was like, yeah, there's always going to be competition and someone better than me. But truly looking like I'm lost or stupid is something that I was unfamiliar with, and that was like the biggest stray for me.
Yeah.
And that's where I would be more avoidant.
Yeah.
So yeah,
for sure, having that kind of image is definitely tough. Like if there wasn't something I was good at, I would get super frustrated because I'm like, why can't I pick this up? So how do you look at failure now? Less avoidant, more willing to do those things.
Absolutely. Like I tried to take it in stride, but I know like it's still in there in me because it's not, I mean, yeah, that still reigns true for me being able to pick things up pretty well. Nothing really like is too much of a struggle, but I think I try to be aware of those situations and just dive head first, and rather than like before where I may be more hesitant, or I might just avoid it completely. Like I said before, like they are very unique situations. But when I do feel that like in the back of my mind that I'm like, I don't want to look stupid or whatever, I just try to take that on. Yeah.
Any adversity with doing gymnastics? Because I feel like there's a stereotype around it, about like, like, isn't that like a woman, like, like woman?
Actually, ironically, there wasn't like a lot of that talk.
That's cool.
In Lowell specifically. I mean, it could be different in other places, but I think because me specifically too, I was a 3-season athlete and stuff like that. I had hella homies in every department. And it was like, track, basketball, soccer, all that stuff. So it was like, no one really looked at it or me differently because I was doing gymnastics, but also like they saw the work we were doing. Like when I tell you these gymnastics coaches were like on our asses, it was crazy. Like we doing wheelbarrows across like the school and like running laps and like handstand walks across like the track gym and stuff like that. So it's like, and we would share practices with like the wrestling guys, the track guys. So it's like, one, they're already our homies, but also like they see like, holy shit, these guys are like they're going through the ringer, bro.
For sure. Yeah. I feel like gymnastics is underrated in that sense. Like,
no, absolutely.
Like that amount of physical strength. Like I started to really appreciate it more this past Olympics because my partner, she really loves Simone Biles, and Simone Biles is like, oh, she's crazy. Yeah, she's the GOAT, seriously. And like the things that they have to go through, and like you said, deal with failure over again. Like if you flip, there's a chance that you're not gonna land. Yeah, and you gotta be okay with it, especially being on that big of a stage too.
Yeah, and at that level, it's like it could be make or break. Yeah, literally for like their careers. Where it's like you might go for something so intense that if you mess up, like that could end your career. Yeah, or like it is crazy. Yeah, to that level.
Yeah. That tiny bar that you have to is the balance beam, or like you have to flip on and then do a whole routine.
So women do that. I mean, men maybe, but I know at least in our circuits and stuff like that, that was one of the ones that we didn't do.
Okay, that's
and same thing with like high bar. Yeah, we would have like one individual high bar, while like I'm pretty sure women have the high bar and then the lower one as well, and that is like a unique thing for them too.
Yeah. Any advice you could give to someone that struggles with failure?
Just, I mean, like I said, going head first into it and taking it into stride and getting comfortable with that situation. I think my biggest downfall was not being comfortable with failure. So the only way to get comfortable is exposure therapy.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So, I mean, anything that you truly are interested in or feel like you are reaching a cap and could get to those parts of failure, I think, taking it in stride. And honestly, I think what has helped me too is being around people who you could feel comfortable failing with. Like if you really are that reserved, testing things out with homies and reaching your limits there can make you feel a bit more comfortable with not looking stupid in front of people. Yeah. Versus like, oh, I'm doing this in front of all my coaches and maybe all my my teammates and stuff like that. Like that may be a bigger fear. So if you want to, expose yourself in a more condensed version, I think that can help.
Yeah, if you have homies or people around you that make fun of you when you're failing, I mean, they gotta go, bro. Yeah, they gotta go. Like that's not the type of environment like you want to be in.
Yeah, I mean, like there's obvious trolling, but like it really is just like once you fail, it's just like it's over with. Like it's the anticipation of failing, at least for me personally, that affected me more than actually failing. Like once I actually failed, I felt relieved because I was like, yo, I got it over with. Yeah. Like I looked stupid and no one gave.
Mm-hmm.
But it's that anticipation every single time that would like get me.
Yeah.
But in reality, like most people don't care too much, and everyone's, at least if you're in good environments, like it's supportive.
Yeah. And guess what? The world didn't blow up. It
Yeah.
failed, right? Yeah. Yeah. Going back to the question, you said, being too comfortable of a supporting role.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
So this is another like revelation that came about in my life, and I think I traced a lot of it back to sports, or like a lot of my connections will go back to sports. And I'm glad you know sports,
Yes.
so you'll get it.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully the viewers do too. But I think of like basketball, volleyball as well too, where it's just like I love being the guy that sets people up. So I was like point guard, love being that, playmaker, play initiator, stuff like that. And same thing with volleyball. I love being the setter, and being that focal point to give that spotlight to the the stars, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm.
I've never, well, maybe I'm different now. So nowadays I know I can be a star as well.
Yeah.
But maybe back then I was a bit more reserved of being like, okay, I'm not like going to be a star. I'm just going to be very good, and let me like try to shine light on these stars.
Mm-hmm.
So it is interesting thinking in my past versus like, I feel like I've gotten way past that concept. But same thing with video. I was like being behind the camera, like I'd rather be the guy who shot and told these stories without being on the screen. While nowadays I'm like, I love both. And I think there is power in doing both as well.
Yeah.
And being greedy, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you were the guy behind the chair, but that guy also has to have some acknowledgement too.
Yeah, no, I think I was, like I said, I was very comfortable being in that role, but I think I was denying my personal gratification of like, or like personal desire of wanting to be in the limelight. I don't think I'm ever to the point of like, those obvious people that that they need to be like a star of something.
Yeah.
Not even in like a negative way, but you're just like, oh, that person has like star written all over them.
Yeah.
I thought that was where I had to be to want to do that. You know what I'm saying? But if I wasn't at that point, then it was like, oh, I'm chilling, being like the guy supporting.
Yeah.
Like I said, same thing with like video and all that stuff. That is like initially why I picked it up, because I felt like I was going to be more comfortable. But I think it was just, me denying the personal desire to want those things.
So now are you looking to kind of just be in that like star appearance?
I mean, I think that I am very confident that I could, or I'm just being greedier. So it's like when there are things similar to like dance, I think that feeds into something. I think I knew I was going to be and wanted to dance for a minute now, and I knew that played a part into why I wanted to dance, because I wanted to perform, essentially.
Yeah.
And that fed something in my like pride or self-satisfaction or whatever. So being more aware, it's just like incorporating those things in my life essentially now. While before I was denying myself of a lot of those things, and feeling less whole, I guess. But I was unaware that I was like less whole at that time, because I was so comfortable being in that background wallflower type thing.
I mean, healing that inner child of yourself. And guess what? You're in the front for a lot of the sections anyway. So you asked, the universe gave it to you. So you talk about a lot of just instead of being in the back, being up front. It's that main character energy, bro. Like I feel that too. I feel like I always didn't want to, just obviously contribute to the winning. Like one example I could think of in high school, like the captain of my team, was my junior year in basketball, and he's like, dude, like, take in, like, have fun with it, in the game. Like, you don't want to be serious. You don't have to like not like hear the crowd, and,
Yeah,
all that stuff. So there's this one time it was a game against our rival town, and coach was like, all right, like you're guarding this one person and one person only. Like you got to make sure they do not get the ball.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, cool, I could do that. I know I was known as like the Marcus Smart
Yeah,
of my
okay,
team.
okay.
Didn't score a lot, but can like just defensively
Me too,
get on the court. Yeah. And I was guarding him pretty well. Like he didn't get the ball a lot, didn't score a lot, so he had to push it off and all that stuff, whatever. And then there was one time it went to overtime, and I just remember so if you can picture this, right? So top of the key, ball's at the top at the right wing.
Yep.
I was on the right, right wing, and I was on the left block, so down near the hoop. And I see the guy driving.
Yep.
And I'm like, all right, I gotta do what I do best. So like I get in position for a charge.
Yeah.
And then I take the charge and I look up and the ball goes to the hoop. I'm like, I was like, are they gonna count this as an and one?
Yeah.
Just like in slow motion, I look to the ref and he's like, charge. I was like, yeah, let's go. Yeah. And like I don't show a lot of emotion on the court. Like I let my play do the work.
Yep.
And then in that time, when I got up, everyone's just like chanting like Randy. And I was just like, I couldn't help but laugh, you know? And then the captain's looking at me, he's like, dude, enjoy this. Like, you did this shit.
Absolutely.
And I was like, I'm just not used to, I guess in that kind of environment to really be in the limelight, be that kind of star.
Yep.
I wasn't a star player, but in that moment, specifically, I
Yeah.
was a star. And I don't know, like it was just so foreign to me because I wasn't a main character individual. I wanted to be a main character individual.
Yeah.
So that's where like I kind of like resonate in that sort of circumstance. So are you just on this kind of main character energy?
I mean, I know that's like been a theme more recently. For
For sure.
And I'm like, I guess if we were to say something specifically, it could be something like that, or like that could be the phrase that we use. I've definitely learned to embrace it more and not starve myself of like certain limelight. So I'm like, I'm down to like make videos and like be a person of of popularity in that kind of way. Not content creator or whatever like that, but I mean, that is something that I care to do, where it's like being popular because of who I am, not because of like, oh my god, this guy makes like he's a crazy director or whatever like that. More so just like, oh my god, like this guy's dope. Like he makes good content and he's funny or whatever like that. Before it was kind of, I don't need to do all that. I'm cool with not, but nowadays I feel like I mean, deserve is kind of crazy. That's like a crazy phrase to say. Because I feel like that's very not dramatic but intense. But I do want to do more of that.
Yeah, no, you should.
And I try to live more in that main character energy for sure.
No, for sure, because we just it's our life. We are the authors of our own.
Yes.
We are a story. We're doing our own storytelling
Absolutely.
in that circumstance. So we should feel that way. I don't like to use the word should, but coming from someone that had too much humility.
Yes.
I never gave myself credit for stuff, and now I really want to be like, I did this shit.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So one thing also is, you mentioned, another thing that you mentioned to me was, being your authentic self.
Yes.
Versus what you're perceived now. So what is that about? Can you dive deeper into that?
Yeah. So I guess the idea of everyone has like a perception of you, a different perception of you. And I think there is, what I want to live more of is who I truly am, I guess, rather than being in the pockets of what people perceive me as, or like trying to live up to certain perceptions, I guess is a better way to phrase it. And it's not that I am not authentic in my day-to-day stuff, but I do think that there is gaps in not fully, like not 100%. Like there are 80% most of the time, 90%, and then there you'll see pockets of like that 100. But I do think there is power in like living that fully, and I don't think I'm there yet, because I do know that there are things that I hold myself back on a little bit, whether that's just like personality stuff or what I'm like actively doing. I like to, or there are parts of me that wait on certain things. So yeah, just living that full authentic self rather than, trying to, it kind of goes into like the concept of failure when I was going back to how people may think I look, or like living up to that standard that I don't fail and like I do well and stuff like that. So it's tying back, even now it's less about failure but more just about upholding certain perceptions of me, because everyone has a unique perception of you, and none of those technically are the real me, the only like real me is the one that I know, while everyone has either a certain percentage of me they know, or a skewed version of me, essentially. And that's not a bad thing. It's just the truth. Like no one knows the full you except you.
No, that's some real shit right there. No, for sure. I feel like there's a quote I always think about. It's like I forgot how it goes, but it's I am what you think I am. So like I'm only basing the perception of other people's opinions of who I am, and that's the identity that we what's the word, absorb. Right. In high school, like you said, you were the person that was good at everything, so you assume that personality when maybe like you realize now like maybe that's not the way that you want to go, and maybe you do, that's fine, but you can now realize that that's what you want to be part of your personality. I feel like man, I mean, just that whole identity crisis too is tough. I know I also struggle with what people's perceptions they have of me versus like who I want to be as my authentic self. So I guess my question to you is, what do you think those perceptions of you are? Obviously it's very unique, but like what do you think they are?
I mean, I don't know, honestly. I mean, nowadays I think I'm doing a lot better of a job at making those things prominent in my, which is why I'm like, it's still something that I actively am working on, since I've like changed, I guess. I think there was a version of me before you had met me formally that was very, very reserved and didn't really share too much about myself, but was, actively in conversations and like friendships with people. But I think a lot, the struggle was that a lot of them didn't know who I was, and there was no one that I feel like I could lean on. This was like pandemic time as well too, so it was like it was heightened.
No, for sure.
That I could like lean on, that knew me and like with me because of me. It was more so just like, oh, I'm a chill dude or whatever like that, or I'm cool or whatever. So after that time frame, I reflected a lot, and I was like, like a lot of these relationships or connections are relatively one-sided, because I may know a good amount about these people, but they don't really know me. And like that's like a crazy concept to digest, because I've always been very, friendly and cool with like everyone and a lot of people. But one moment specifically was with Jamie and my brother. This is still pandemic time, or maybe Jamie told my brother, and then my brother told me, and that was like that sparked something. But it was funny, because he was saying how I've always been around, because since like the SFC days and even prior to that, like I've always been around my brother, around his friends and all that kind of stuff. But Jamie was like, he's always been around, but like I don't really know Kyle. And I was like, damn, that's crazy, because I feel like at that time, like I had known and had a good grasp on all of his friends. And I was like, that's true. Like they don't really like know me, but that's my fault. Because I didn't like share or like do stuff like that with them, because I was very content with being essentially like a wallflower. When my brother mentions that, I'm like, oh wow, that's kind of facts. I was a wallflower. I really just like digested everything, processed everything from people's, but I never did that myself. And that was like a disservice to all those people, in my opinion. So yeah, I was really trying to show more of that. And I mean, I guess to go back to your question of like of what I think people think of me now. um I think,
or at least then, like what perception did you think people had of you then?
back then,
Yeah.
dude, I don't even know. Like back then, I truly think it was just like nice, chill, and like happy, and like all of those things were true. And I think that is also why it was kind of a struggle, because um it sounds kind of like wild, but for sure, I do think people get deeper connections through like struggles, either that they have of their own, or they have together, and they like share those experiences and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But during those time frames, it was like nothing really, like I've never, gratefully, and I mean, like I've always been a half glass full guy.
Yeah.
And I never really had too much of a like adversity in those kinds of ways. So there, it didn't feel like there was stuff for me to share. But yeah, I think nowadays it's like that's not all you need. There's still things that I can implement, and like show to people nowadays of like who I am, and like the things I care about. And I mean, like even hearing you say stuff like intellectual and all that kind of stuff, I'm like, damn, thanks, man. Like, I mean, I would like to think so as well.
Yeah. No.
But I feel like I don't. I'm not in that bag a lot with people, so I'm like, even for you to get that feel, I'm like, damn, I appreciate that.
No, I'm glad I could make you feel that way.
Yeah.
Well, just because like through our conversations, I'm like, yeah, this dude's, he knows his shit all the time. Like that's why I ask you for like a lot of things. I mean, this whole thing about what people perceive you as versus what you want to do, it's trippy, bro, because I think it's just like a part of me is that people pleasing tendencies, right? So if I'm gonna remain the nice guy, right, then I can't do anything to hurt your feelings. No matter what there's nothing I can do. There's nothing, I don't want to do anything that hurts your feelings. I don't want to say anything that hurts your feelings. But like, it's just like not speaking my truth, right? Even if it does, like, I'm pretty sure that other person like still loves me, you know what I mean? And keeping up that kind of perception was very exhausting for me. I mean, that was another thing that led to my depression, because I was like, oh, I have to be this nice guy that doesn't hurt anyone, that doesn't do anything drama. Like, I'm not a drama person. Like, I don't like drama. I don't want it to be, I don't want to be involved in it. But what happened that year when I went through my depression and, talks of suicide, I was just so grasping on this identity that I thought people thought of me, which was nice guy, very, respectful for the others, doesn't cause drama, doesn't anything like that. And then I did something that pretty much contradicted that. So I had this hard like battle in my head about like, who the fuck are you? Like, why are you doing these things that do not support you being a nice guy and not hurting other people's feelings? And because of that, it's just like, it's a spiral. And then like, oh man, it was definitely, it was bad. It was bad, obviously, because it led, to those really negative thoughts.
Yeah, I mean that stuff is crippling, man.
Yeah.
Like, being and putting yourself like in a box. That's why I say it's like there is only one true version of you, and that is the one that and like really living that. Because I do think another struggle is for me that kind of ties into it is just like not misinformation, but people like not. When you mention like, oh, like this isn't Randy, this isn't like something like that, can kind of be like, that can kind of tick me off a little bit or whatever. It's not the craziest thing, but it definitely felt, especially during those times, that people didn't know who I was. And like I said, that it was a product of myself as well, but I think that just being a personal like thing that I dislike, like misinformation or like not really getting the full scope of someone or something, made me want to live in a way that can show people that as well. Where it's like, this is the full scope of me, rather than just the minimal like perception that they do have. And it's not even like super negative stuff, but I'm like, I mean, I guess going back a little bit to what people like thought as well too, where it's just like chill, nonchalant, cool guy
Yeah.
type of stuff, where it was like now I am very much more like sporadic and all over the place and silly, goofy as well too.
Yeah.
Like that's why I say like you'll see pockets of stuff like that too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, feeling like I have to maintain this false like
this false identity.
perception of me, and I'm like, no man, like I do be doing like other shit or like out of not out of pocket shit, but like outlandish shit. But it's just it doesn't come out as often, but I also restrict myself from it. So I like want to live in that space more often than not.
More adaptability, malleable. Like it's just like we string on so hard to identity, and like it's if we hold on for too long, then like you're not allowing yourself to change, and that's what we do on a daily basis is change. So were you like not opening up to people? Was that part of the thing too, or
yeah, I definitely wasn't opening up. I don't think there was, like I was saying, too many things to open up either.
Okay.
But I also think like I mean, getting to know someone and forming a connection is just understanding that person at a very basic level, but also just like there are deeper layers of things even through that basic level. If you like truly try to get to know someone. So I think I wasn't doing a good job of sharing those things. And I also didn't really know who I was, I guess, at that time either. I wasn't saying, maybe at that time I would say maybe that was like the stronger identity crisis thing, but it just like hit. It wasn't I've been feeling this throughout all my years.
Yeah.
And then even after, it was like, oh, like this is such a strong thing. It was literally just that like time frame where I do think it was just more negative in general because height of pandemic. I also was like going through a breakup too, which that's not a huge deal. Yeah. But that played a part for sure, because after that, it made me look around and be like, oh, like who can I like look towards?
Yeah.
And obviously there was my brother, which helped, but outside of that, I was like, damn, like I don't really have strong connections with people like that at that time. So it made me focus in more on like doing those things, but also learning about who I am as a person. And I think all those things that we've talked about as well too came about through that, where it was like, oh, I don't care about, or I do care about being in that like main character spot more often than not. And I do have a struggle with like failure and like a fear of that and all that. All those like came about at once. That's why I'm like, dude, the person that like you guys like know nowadays is like so different from the person before that. And none of it was super straining mentally or whatever like that, but it did take a lot of like connecting and digging in to really like understand what was going on in my brain. And then like it was kind of cool because I do love like putting things and connecting things. So it was just like, oh shit, like here's a pocket of like something that connects, like I'm like afraid of failure, and then another thing pops up and I was like, oh shit, like these are all things I should start to tackle. And once I like made that a decision, or like made that decision to start tackling them and like being more productive in those ways, it started to shape who I was, I guess, like, and making that person that I can say like, oh, this is like me, I guess. And it's nice to see that I guess it's working. In some ways, where it's like, I mean, people can see more of me now. And it is interesting to see like you and Naleen and stuff like that, because I didn't really know you guys before that. See your guys' perception of me, because that's all you know. And I'm like, but like versus maybe like the Charlies and the Justins or something like that, where it's like I've known them before that time frame and I know them now. And even someone like Justin, like we weren't like homies or friends like really before that. He was just alongside my brother, and like I knew him, and like more of like acquaintances. But now I'm to the point where like, oh, I can say all these guys are my friends. Like Jamie's my friend, Justin's my friend, Charlie's my friend, and stuff like that. And we like, they know me. At least they know more of me now.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's, I mean, there's just a lot that you threw out there. I'm trying to process, but
That's real.
Yeah, no, it's. I'm glad. I hope I provide a space for you to like be your authentic self, whether like it's a certain perception avenue, but also like, you know, you can change it. Like you should have the ability to change that. And I'm, you know, still fuck with like the guy that you know that's sitting across from you right now. So what are you doing now to be your authentic self, or how would you categorize your authentic self?
I think that I'm a lot more spontaneous, and I wouldn't say I am more carefree, but definitely I want to be more in that pocket. I have been a lot more routined and disciplined in more recent years because of like goals that I set out to reach. But I do think that has like restricted the spontaneous part of me that will just do things on the fly and like be like out there essentially. And I think that is the part that is the hardest to tap into right now. And I think that is also the part that most people don't perceive me as. Like I don't, like even now I'm pretty sure you wouldn't think of me as someone who is spontaneous in that kind of way, or like super out there. Or not super out there. I'm like comfortable like being out there and all that stuff, but just like all over the place. I think people view structure when they see me in some capacity.
But that's just like you on your passion shit, right? That's just more toward that kind of side. Or,
yeah. I mean, like I said, the goals and stuff is more just like financial stuff and reaching certain landmarks before I can like do whatever the fuck. That's why I think there is going to be another evolution of some sorts afterwards, where it's like that pandemic evolution of like changing. I think that I'll really like lean into my personality afterwards as well too, once I hit this next like landmark, because at that point it's just like true freedom for me. And I think there's less of a freeness in my personality right now compared to what I envision myself.
No, it's fair, man. I mean, there's gonna be constant evolutions.
Absolutely.
It's always gonna be starting over and over. So before we get into questions from the audience, is there anything that you want to maybe talk about, something that maybe we didn't discuss that you want to make sure that you want to put out there? If that's about me, if that's about a certain like message you want to put out there.
I mean, I do really like what we talked about.
Yeah.
And I mean, we did cover the things that I wanted to say, but I mean, just like simple things. Like, I love that quote that I put.
Yeah. Your quote was, "You should enjoy the little detours to the fullest, because that's where you'll find the things more important than what you want."
Yes.
Care to elaborate a little bit on that?
Like I said, it's a quote from Hunter. But yeah, I think the concept of not worrying too much about the goal, which is very ironic from what we started off this conversation with, and truly like appreciating the detours that do happen, and not even something like, this stopped me a little bit from getting to my goal, or like it prolonged it a little bit. It's truly I'm doing something completely different. Like, I'm supposed to be working towards this, but shit, now I'm in Japan. You know what I'm saying? Like, stuff like that is what I want to live in and like embody. And I think there's more value in stuff like that more than reaching that goal. I think that's the storytelling and loving fiction and all that kind of stuff in me, where it's just like seeing the people's like journeys is always exciting to me, because they're sometimes just doing outlandish shit outside of actually hitting this one set goal, or beating the big bad villain or whatever like that. All those things play a part into how they reach either that spot, or maybe they don't at all, and that's like still something to appreciate. And I think, yeah, people can get too caught up in the concept of reaching that goal and only focusing on that goal, that there is importance and there's value in things that have nothing to do with that. And yeah, I think that those can create either the best memories or the best feelings, or the best lessons, I guess, as well too.
Yeah. Remember, success isn't linear. It's like this, it's like that. You
Absolutely.
know, whatever it is. Like somehow you get to where you want to be, even if it's like you said, it's not that same goal that you initially had.
And even if it doesn't help you lead towards success, I think there's still value in that, which people don't think about. And yeah, that's like just as important in my opinion, because those are the things that you can reflect on either later in life, or once you've hit that goal, or on the way to your goal. Like those might be the things that make you want to continue.
All right, man. Before we get into questions from the audience, song association, I just want to say
Cooked.
how much I appreciate you. I think we bonded. I don't know how many showcases we did, but I think ever since that time, it just feels like having like another brother again.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And also like just that same level of friendship with like Charlie, like Nalene, just like kind of like that kind of family that we have. And it's just so dope to also get to know you more. And I feel like through our conversations, I didn't know some of these struggles that you're going through, and also tap into your brain, like I said, into the intellect that like I really was like, damn, how do you know so much? To really understand like the type of person that you are, but also like the person that you want to become, I think is also something inspiring. And hopefully I could be part of that journey just to see,
Absolutely,
how you're going to get there. So
I appreciate it.
Appreciate your time and coming on.
Same, man. I feel like there are certain people that when you first meet, I mean, you may feel differently, that you're just like, oh, this guy could be like a homie, dude, like a really, really close friend. Yeah. And I've like definitely felt that when we were first talking. So it's like nice to want to see that happen.
Yeah.
But also, yeah, reach farther levels, even in this pod, like getting to know each other better and like sharing more of myself in the way that I like to do so now. So I love that.
For sure. All right, so let's get into song association.
Oh, I'm cooked, man. I'm so cooked. Oh, brother.
So how the game works is that I'll give you a word, and then you'll think of the song, and then you'll give me a word, and I think of the song.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't worry. I'm also bad at this too. Don't worry.
So is it okay? What if it has like the lyrics? If we're going titles of the song, right?
No, we could do. I like to do lyrics or title, just because it's like we're only doing one word. It's easier. We're only doing one word. You know what I mean? So it's not like we're using a word generator. It's like off the top of the dome. Yeah. One thing I was curious to see if you come up with a song. It's the word I have for you is push.
Push. Wait.
The Jeopardy song.
Push. Okay. I mean, I will say the first one that comes to mind, but I'm sure I could come with a better one.
Okay, go ahead.
But all I can think of is the push it. The Disney like
push it to the limit.
Push it to the limit. Bro, I did not want to come out here and throw out a Disney song.
Okay. Yo, honestly, it's not a bad song.
No, it's a fire song. That song is gas.
Yeah. All right, did you want to throw another song then?
No. If I come up with one, but I'm like, yo, I might just sit on this for like 30 seconds. So we'll rock with that because this is a good song.
Yeah, no, it is. No, for sure. Okay, now you come up with a word for me to think of.
Okay. I'm feeling sky.
Sky?
Yeah, unless you've gotten that before.
No, I have not.
I'm
People give me stars. Something about, everyone's like, oh, up there, just like wants me to figure it out.
Dude, I was either thinking blue or sky, so I was like, I'm gonna go sky.
Okay. Sky. The first song that came to my head is Coldplay's song. It's "Cause Your Sky,
okay,
your sky
yeah.
full of stars."
Full of stars.
Yeah,
Straight up.
Stars are in there. Damn it. It always follows stars. It's all about stars aligning.
Yeah.
All right, man. I appreciate you. Just doing that. It's a fun little thing just to test some music taste. I know how music obviously is a big part of your life. When I thought push, I was hoping you would do Kick Push by what's his
Wait, I think I know what you're talking about.
Kick, push, kick, push, and coast. Is that Lupe Fiasco? No, right? Is it?
Maybe.
Guys, let me know. I don't know. That probably is.
Yeah, I'm not too tapped into the Lupe, but I'm pretty sure I know the song you're talking about.
Okay, wait. All right, man. Let's get into questions from the audience.
All right, what the audience got for me?
All right, so this is a kind of a two-parter question. Two people ask kind of a similar thing. So Michelle Mark asks, "What's been your favorite project thus far?" And then Oni said, "What's your next project and when will we see it?" I'm not sure what the project was referring to. I don't know if it's a showcase or
I'm wondering that too.
I guess take that as how you interpret it, because I'm interpreting it as in like what you're working on, but take it as how you would interpret the question.
Okay, I mean, I guess I can answer both. So like showcase project, dance and stuff. Definitely the BTS project was my favorite. That was, dude, the recipes were just all there.
Yeah, it really was.
It was just too damn good. So yeah, I definitely had the most fun there. But in terms of projects, so Michelle's was my favorite, right?
Not like your favorite thus far.
Thus far, I honestly, it's kind of small, but finishing up my video reel was very fun. I think it tapped back into what made me start video and editing and stuff in general, where it was just like I could just be creative and put shit together that looked very cool. So when I was making this video reel, which is like a short formatted portfolio essentially that I would send out to people and like show my skills and stuff, it gave me a lot of freedom to do shit in there, like just to make things look cool, because I wasn't constrained with a theme or a client or anything like that. So that was, it made me feel like when I first started again, where it was just no expectations, just get to make cool things, and then the overarching thing is just one simple story, which is all of my best work essentially. Okay. So yeah, definitely my most favorite project recently. And then future projects, I would say,
also for context, sorry, I've realized that we never mentioned that you were the your freelance like videographer and stuff like that. So I want to put it out there as going back to what Kyle was saying. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yes. Future project, nothing too much in line, but I would say I am like in the works with one of my cousins for more like food content. And I think that has the opportunity to kind of be in the middle of like playing around and making cool visuals, while also having a more standard like approach, because I think right now most of my work is relatively standard, so it'll be cool to be able to kind of mix both worlds again.
When do you think like those projects, like timeline on that? Or
I would say within the next like 2 to 3 months for sure. There will be stuff, which I mean whenever this episode releases, but between January and March.
Okay,
I would say.
Gotcha.
At least like for my own personal stuff, there will probably be out.
Word. Okay. And this is a question from your brother. What is your motivation to keep existing? That's such a him question too.
That is such a question, man. I think there's just so much to love in life, man. It doesn't go down to one single thing, but I think the ability to, storytell is one of the biggest driving factors for me as well. Sharing, consuming, and creating things that matter to me / like are just could affect other people is a very strong like motivating factor. I don't know if like to exist because I love life. But I think that continues to drive like why. And I guess it is very rooted in like why I love life because there's just so many things to appreciate within day-to-day things. Like everything is a story essentially. Every person is a story. Everything that's like been crafted has a story to it, and I think learning and understanding those are that shit's beautiful, man. So like taking those opportunities to like learn those stories from people or things and stuff like that, I think is one that keeps me going in terms of wanting to replicate that, because there are definitely lots of things that I may see or consume or whatever, like, or like live through that I'm just like, damn, I want to make other people feel this kind of way as well. And maybe that'll help them, you know, want to exist or continue to exist. And if I could do that, that'll be a dream, man.
For sure, man. I feel like that's all we can do as, like, I feel like as creators, and maybe just even like just human beings in itself, like how we can impact other people to motivate them to keep existing. Because there are people that, you know, feel like, you know, this life is not worth it, which is a sad thing to think about. I was there in that place before, but life is beautiful. And, you know, something I think I'd never told you was that I almost didn't didn't make it after birth. I was supposed to have I have an older brother now, but I was supposed to have another older brother.
Yeah.
And he died a few minutes after birth. And I came out prematurely. I came out like 3 pounds, which is like super small. And I had to be like in an incubator for a long time. And like, it's so crazy. And now, like, growing up, you know, not really having physical, you know, deformities or anything like that, no health problems, which I'm really grateful for. Like yourself, like, I was someone that was like, you know, could be good at everything. Yeah. And actually, Michelle was talking to my mom the other day because of Christmas, and she was like, yeah, my mom was saying, if we had that, the middle child, then like they would have tried for a third one. So in all those sequences is like, I wouldn't have been born. Yeah. Which is a crazy thing to think about.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And like, I think that's why I put so much pressure on myself, not because of my parents' story, but also because like I got a shot at life. Yeah. And like, I should be living it the way that I want to, not to other people's standards. And we talked about perception and, you know, living up to other people's perception of me when I really should just be living for me, despite how anybody else feels about my decisions and stuff like that. Yeah. Well, obviously that's something I didn't grasp at a younger age because it's a young developing mind. So
absolutely, like taking that gratefulness for like literally existing, to just living the way that living in your life to the fullest potential. Yeah. Whether that's just like in an internal way or of like an external way as well. I think that's huge. That's crazy though.
Yeah, no, I think about it like sometimes, try not to use it as motivation, because whether I was doing this or not, like, you know, I still have fun with life, and don't feel like I have to just, be like,
that's what I'm saying. Enjoy the detours, man.
Exactly. There you go. There you go. All right, man. So I want to get into the big 3 questions. These are 3 questions that I feel like could significantly leave an impact on my viewers. And the first question I have for you is, if you were to sit on a bench with your younger self, what advice, what words would you say to that younger Kyle?
I would say, I mean, honestly, a jam-packed version of everything that we've kind of talked about, where it's just like not living with the intention of looking back at the mistakes of it, I guess. So fully accepting that, you know, things will mess up and fail, and just to continue looking forward. I think the gap a lot of the times was looking backwards instead of like, you know, the anticipation of failure and like how it'll look like in the after the fact, rather than just continuing to look forward, rather than you know, after the failure looking towards the eventual success of that of that one flip, or, you know, something like that. I think that'll empower the younger Kyle for sure, because he needed to hear that shit.
For sure. Second question to you is, what does becoming the highest version of yourself mean to you, and how are you doing that today?
Being the highest version of myself, I think, is being free. And I think there's another quote that I love, that like being great is being free. And, you know, that can just apply to anything, whether that's like being great, a great perception of who I am essentially to other people, or being great at a thing that I really love to do. I think all of those things provide the flexibility to be free and do whatever the hell you want once you're once you fully capture that, so that, yeah, is definitely what my highest version would be. And the steps that I'm taking towards doing that is really just, I mean, it's going to go back to all the things we were talking about, where we're just like, yeah, not looking backwards in the failures of things, and just focusing on those successes, that will eventually come through, messing up and doing certain things, and whatever might change perceptions of people, not staying in the box, essentially. Like that's super basic way to phrase it, I guess.
Yeah, no, for sure. Sticking to that, what's it called? Fucking, because you said Cordon Bleu, Push It to Limit, High School Musical, Stick to the Status Quo. All that shit just came in. The connection's there.
We're dropping bars everywhere, bro. Easter eggs.
True. And my last question I have for you is, if you could connect me with someone that you think would be great on this podcast, who would it be and why?
I would throw PD in there. I think he will have a different perspective. He's way more into the physical body part of discussions that we'll have and stuff. But while I lean like a lot more towards just like artsy fartsy stuff. So I think, but he also has gone through a lot of development, I think, compared to his younger years, and it would be interesting to see his perspective on things, or like, gain more light on that.
Yeah. How old is he again?
He's my age.
Okay.
We're like all the same year. That's why I'm like, that question as well for the cousin thing is damn near impossible, because like there's 4 of us that are all born in the same year.
Oh shit.
So like we're like tight as shit, and obviously like Tyler is in that year.
Yeah.
And then yeah, we have like the older cousins as well, like Monica and stuff like that, where it's just like, that's impossible to answer, bro.
I was like, when Tyler was like, oh shit, I didn't make the timing of the story.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, can you, like, is it too late? Can I still ask this question? And he rolled the question. I was like, I thought this would be a Tyler question.
No, absolutely. But yeah, I think Pira, actually, honestly, any one of those in the 2000s. So it's like PD, Pira, Tyler, Audrey. The other two a little less. PD more.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like why I throw his name for sure out there. But he definitely has the most to. He would definitely have the most to talk about.
Okay. Good to hear. Anything you want to plug before we sign off? Like any about like, obviously, you're a freelance videographer.
Yeah, I mean, that's still like in the works of the next stage, but I mean, Kyle Ouk is most of my socials. We gotta plug Highest Version anyways. We're part of the team too, so
yes sir. Kyle is part of the team, helping out.
So I gotta plug that.
I know, true, man. Happy for you to be on the team. I mean, that's why I asked you, just again, your knowledge, your understanding of consumerism and all that stuff. Guys, tell you intellectual about all this stuff. I'm telling you, man.
Yeah, but nothing crazy. I'm still working on the aspect of really putting myself out there for now. I'm just like, I'm cooking in the background for now.
Yeah.
But for now, Kyle Ouk, on socials.
Awesome. All right, man. Thank you again for your time. Appreciate you as
always.
Me, man. Can't wait to just be on that journey with you and grow with you. And honestly, help grow with Highest Version and see where it goes. Yeah, dude. Well, guys, if any part of this episode resonated with you, please like, share, subscribe, comment, share any of your favorite clips of this episode. And as always, let's fall in love with the process of getting better every day and becoming the highest version of ourselves. Love y'all.